Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here today. And I'm extremely excited to have our special guest here. And one of the things that we like to do here on the Note Closer Show, for those of you that are listening for the first time or watch this on YouTube or on Facebook or anything like that, or listen to it on our different AM, FM radio stations across the country, is we like to try to focus on specific markets occasionally. You know what, we're buying in a lot of different places across the country and investing in a lot of places, and we've got listeners all across the country. But it's always nice to bring in a subject matter expert, somebody who's actually boots in the ground, been investing in a specific area for quite some time now. And I'm really excited for our guest today. She's been an investor for just about 10 years now. She's gone from rehabs to rentals to commercial buildings and storage facilities. She's also the owner of an amazing REIA group that I was lucky enough to speak at a little while ago, and was just blown away at how awesome the club was and what she does for her members. And so I'm honored to have the one, the only Stacy Rossetti join us from Atlanta today. So good morning. Happy holidays, Stacy.
Hi, happy holidays. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be on the show.
Well, we're glad to have you. And like I said, I was impressed. You reached out to me. We went back and forth roughly 9 months trying to schedule and figure out times and things like that. I was honored to come out there to the South Atlanta REIA and speak there. And I was just blown away at the amazing stuff that you're covering. Now, as we get to the end of the year or the beginning of the year when this will come out on podcast, you know, January and February are always really busy months as people want to do something new, right? They want to start become an investor. They want to quit reading or watching Flip This House or Flip or Flop and actually take action. Yeah. And so why don't you share a little bit about, you know, how you've grown your club into such an amazing event and talk about how you really set yourself apart from others.
Okay, yeah. So basically what happened was I became an investor like almost 10 years ago, and I live in the South Atlanta area. And if anybody knows the Atlanta market, everybody lives in North Atlanta, right? And it's North Atlanta is where all the action happens. And then in the South, like nothing happens. So when I first started, I was literally driving like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours just to get to, you know, the real estate investor meetings and, you know, to go and network at all the different, you know, networking events that were out there. I'd be driving for so long. So after about a year and a half or 2 years of doing that, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna start my own group. So that's what I did, is I started it in the South, and I called it the Way Down South Real Estate Group. And it basically was just like a monthly meeting, and people would just like come and hang out. And I was just the facilitator of the group, and I would always bring in, you know, awesome speakers. And it grew very, very quickly because there was such a need in the South for something like that, you know. So after I did that for a couple of years, and I was getting on average, you know, 100 people every single meeting to come, I was approached by the National REIA to start a REIA, a Real Estate Investors Association. And so they asked me if I would be interested in becoming an affiliate with them and starting an REIA. So I basically moved from the way down south up to like a central kind of Atlanta area. And that's why we changed it to the South Atlanta REIA. And so now it's just a huge organization. It's a great community. It's a very progressive community. We have a lot of different groups in the real estate industry that are here in Atlanta, but they're just basically either networking groups where people could just meet and talk, or they're facilitating education, but it's just like, you know, a meeting where you come and you sit down and you get some education for an hour or so, and then you leave, right? So the difference between those groups and my group is that I'm basically trying to build a community up, right? I'm trying to build this community where we can not only do deals together, because everybody wants to do deals, but essentially lean on each other in times of like in challenges, and then, you know, be able to ask each other questions, you know, is this a good deal or not a good deal? And then, you know, build, you know, all these different niches around the city where you can learn pretty much anything that you want. So basically the South Atlanta REIA is a real estate investors association, and it's got a main meeting, and then it's got also about 20 niche groups, and we call these super groups. And there is like vacation and short-term rental, land, wholesaling, rehabbing. We're starting another one. We're starting so many different awesome groups. We're starting a mobile home one this year. I'm leading one that's called Deals Are Done on the Playground. right? And this is going to be for like parents that want to come on Sunday afternoons and let their kids play at the playground for a couple hours and then just talk and chat. So like really kind of just cool ideas. Like essentially it's just getting solving the problems of investors. Whatever they need, that's what the South Atlanta REIA does, right? So we have all these different groups, and then on top of that, we do webinars, we do workshops, we do boot camps and teaching every single type of niche that's out there. We just this past weekend, 2 weekends ago, we had a virtual summit, my very first virtual summit, which was completely awesome, yes. And we had over 1,600 people register.
Wow.
1,600 people. Can you imagine, from like all over the country? I was blown away. And what was so awesome about that virtual summit is what I did is I just got all the experts in our community and I asked them, I said, would you be interested in just doing like a 1 hour webinar and just do it over a weekend, a live webinar? And so they all said yes. So we had 18 different webinars, and just from local investors here in Atlanta. And we had like, 60, 70, 80 people per webinar coming in and listening. And I was just like, wow, this really works. This is awesome, and I'm still getting comments on that virtual summit. So like I said, we're very progressive. We've got webinars, boot camps, you name it, whatever niche, anything that you need. We have a lot of activity going on. And the purpose of the South Atlanta REIA is actually affordable financial literacy, right? So everything is geared toward just being able to learn how to invest in real estate, but doing it on a budget that's like realistic budget, not something that's like, 20, 30, 40, $50,000, but, something that, people can afford to get into. And then maybe later down the road, if they want to get a mentor or something like that, they can do that. But in the very beginning, when you're first starting real estate, sometimes a lot of people just don't have the money to do stuff like that, so we kind of gear towards that. And then help them to grow and just keep on top of that journey that they're trying to do.
That makes so much sense. That's the great thing that I loved, is that you're not doing it all yourself, but congratulations on the virtual summits. I love that. We've been doing those for years in the note business. And I love that you brought in people, you gave everybody opportunity. The idea is to give, and you see that specifically in or not to give, but to really serve.
Yeah.
Because
we did it for free. It was free too, so we gave and served.
Yeah, exactly. You gave a lot of your time there for sure. Next time you can for free. But you one of the big things I love is that when you had your meeting there, when I was there, you came and you had people networking at first, and then you had speed networking.
Yes.
You had a vendor area, and then you also had some opportunity for people to visit and talk about what the events that were going on, the haves and wants. And then you had me come in for an hour and a half to speak and stuff, but you really provided so many opportunities for people to plug into different things.
Yes, it's like when you come to the main meeting, it's like an experience.
Yes,
it really is. Yeah, so like you get there at 5 o'clock, there's free food, free alcohol, and you get and then you get me to mastermind, and I mastermind for an hour, and basically I just like answer everybody's questions, I solve everybody's problems, whatever challenges you have. And then we move on to from 6 to 6:30. It's 5 to 6, and 6 to 6:30 we do like a new member orientation where I go over like all the benefits of the South Atlanta REIA. And then from 6:30 to 7 we do speed networking, where I make everybody there go and basically talk to everybody else. And the point is you have to learn your pitch. You have to learn how to introduce yourself, and then you get to meet other people and build your team and stuff. So the REIA is not like you just go and sit and like just wait for the speaker. Like, I'm gonna make you learn, use your brain, and get out there and get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. And then we have all of like awesome speakers like you coming in and talking and teaching and talking all different types of subjects and stuff. And then we network afterwards, and I try to kick everybody out between like 10 and 11.
Basically, kick them down to the bar downstairs or wherever you're at, because I know you just moved locations to go to a bigger spot. But yeah, one of the things I want to ask you, because as we hit January, February, people are looking to, like we said, to learn, network. You can't be a wallflower and be successful as an investor. Would you agree to that, Stacy? You got to really, like you do, network, ask questions. Whether it's speed dating or just showing up on a regular basis to really take stuff in, right?
Yes, exactly. Like you just can't come in and sit. You just can't do that. You've got to get out. You got to talk to people. And that's the one thing, that's the whole purpose. I mean, you can't invest in property. You can't do deals if you don't have a team around you, if you don't have that community around you. And so that's basically the main meeting of the South Atlanta REIA is basically the first step. It's kind of the gateway drug into like real estate investing world. And then after that, you get this confidence like, oh yeah, I do have my pitch or something. I can go out and try to talk to other people at other networking events and stuff, you know?
That's good. Now let's talk a little bit. You've been an investor for 10 years now. Atlanta has gone through a bit of a downturn 10 years ago. I know it was a big set. We saw a lot of distressed debt. Let's talk about the Atlanta market. What are you seeing there? Are you guys struggling for inventory like we are here in Austin, or are you still seeing a lot of deals in different ways? Let's talk about the ATL.
Atlanta market is annoying right now, basically. Yes. I mean, houses are, so any very expensive house, I would say 300,000 or more is just sitting on the market. We don't have enough people to buy the houses. And then anything that's less than that could go a little bit faster, but they are taking quite a while to sell. I mean, even I would say 150 to 200,000 houses are selling, okay, rather quickly, 30 to 60 days on the market. Anything over that is taking longer and longer and longer. And I know this because I still have a couple of houses on the market that I'm trying to sell that I can't even sell, and it's so annoying, So the Atlanta market is really tough in the housing market. Now, Airbnb, for instance, Airbnb market is just hot right now. Everybody wants to do Airbnb. So my suggestion for that is like essentially go onto Airbnb and just look in your area and see how many houses are in that area, because if there's too many, don't do it, right? And then the commercial market in Atlanta is really hot right now. I mean, I'm wholesaling commercial deals.
Wow.
Because because people just want to buy commercial right now. The apartment market is not too good because the reason why is it's just too expensive. Now, if you want to do apartments, you've got to go outside the perimeter. You've got to go hour to 2 hours outside of the main Atlanta metro area. So basically what's happening is like inside the Atlanta market, it's really slow. There is too much inventory, not enough buyers on all aspects. But then once you kind of go outside of the perimeter, outside into the burbs and stuff, it's getting a lot easier, but it is slowing down. That's what's happening.
Now, are you seeing wholesaling's always been a strategy for a lot of people. Are you seeing a lot of wholesalers find success? You said Airbnb. Are you seeing a lot of people using owner financing to move some of these assets? Is a popular thing too?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So we are focusing, especially right now, we're focusing on creative deal structuring. I mean, this is what you're going to have to do in the next year or two, because what's happening is that now all of the properties that are out there, they're all like the lowest of the low properties that all have issues. They're either in foreclosure or pre-foreclosure, if they got title issues, or they're just like not. I remember back in the day, man, when we would just get all kinds of awesome houses and close in 7 days, and it was awesome. Right? But now you just can't do that in Atlanta, right? So all those houses, all the good pickings and stuff, those are all kind of gone. And so now you have to get really creative in all the deals that are out there, and that's any type of commercial property, and that's also residential properties as well. Yes. So you have to be creative in the market coming up in Atlanta.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We've talked with others before here with the note investing side. Owner financing we still think is a viable option. I think we're going to see more subject to deals popping up here in the next 12 to 24 months as people can't afford. They can't carry the stuff. They overpaid for assets, but they got some really great financing in place. It makes it flexibility. Georgia has the second fastest foreclosure laws in the country, behind yours truly here in Texas. We do everything fast here, but
Texas likes to put their foot down.
Exactly.
Georgia too. We don't want to put up with anybody's crap. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Which is good,
It is good. We talked when I was there about how the Georgia has a requirement that if you're going to be buying distressed or notes, besides selling your own owner finance, you're going to be buying notes as well. They want you to be a licensed mortgage broker.
Yes.
Unless you're using your self-directed IRA, fund that stuff. So that's something to keep in mind. As I've talked with other people, like, listen, you need to find a mortgage broker there that understands that there's a lot of them in there in the Georgia market, originators, and then either purchase assets under their, partnering up with them to take things down. But we're still seeing stuff there, but Georgia's still been kind of a pricey market because of the faster foreclosure laws and things like that to keep in mind. So you've done some cool stuff recently that I've just been watching, just sitting here chuckling, because I love the creative side of what you're doing. And we were talking before we got started here. You mentioned wholesaling commercial deals, but you've also added a commercial flair to your stuff. And you want to talk a little bit about kind of what your focus has been recently?
Yeah. So what happened was essentially I got pregnant, and then when I got pregnant, I was doing while I was pregnant, I had 20 rehabs going on.
Wow.
And so what happened was I was thinking to myself, I'm going to have a baby and I have 20 rehabs right now. So like, what do I need to do, right? So essentially the idea was I've got to get rid of, because the thing is that when you have a baby, you can't like do 20 rehabs. Yeah. So anyway, so I was like, I need to get rid of these rehabs, and but I still need to have this income coming in, because the rehabs that I were doing were it was like volume. So it wasn't like I wasn't making 50, 60, 80,000. I was on average $15,000 to $25,000 on a house. I just did a lot of them. I was very cookie cutter. And so I just knew how to do it. And we just did essentially the same rehab over and over again after that. So I was running like a business essentially, but I couldn't do that with a baby, right? So essentially I got pregnant in 2016, and then the goal was to get rid of all the rehabs. I had 20 rehabs at the time. We stopped in 2017 buying houses, and that's I have the 2 houses from those 20 houses that I still haven't even sold yet, because it's just the market is just so crazy here, right? And but then during that time, I was like, so what can I do to supplement that income so I can have some income coming in, but also build wealth and add value, right? And so I told my realtor, I was like, just start looking for stuff for me to invest in. I'll do apartments, quads, storage, whatever. He just started looking around for me, and he came across a storage facility that was right in Fayetteville. So I live in Peachtree City, and Fayetteville's kind of right next to it. So it was maybe a 20-minute drive, so it wasn't very far. And this storage facility had been on the market for 5 years. And
wow.
I bought it. Yeah. And the reason why is because he had priced it to what it was supposed to be, what it was valued at if it was full. But when I talked to him and met the owner, I went over there and took a look at it. I was like, this one might be a good one. When I looked at it, I was like, this is not worth what he wants, obviously. This is worth half of what he wants. So he was valuing it based on when it was 100% full, which is what this is what realtors do. This is what everybody does. They value it based on what it should be, and it's not really what it actually is. And it was only 25% full.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when I look at storage facilities, essentially I look at, not only do I look at the as is value, but I also look at what I can be making, right? If it's 90% full, what am I going to be making? So I'm more of a value add kind of a person, and and the opportunity. So I talked to the owner, and his name was Big John. It was Big John Storage, right? And if he had built this thing, he was 88 years old or something. Wow. And he had built this thing 30 years ago in the 80s or whatever. And he for some extra income on this property, he had his office kind of thing and this little property over here. So he built it. And then it has 64 units, just one long strip of 64 units. And the awesome thing though is it had parking all the way around it, and it had enough parking spaces for 50 to 60 parking spaces. But what he had been doing is that, first of all, he was a cash only business. And then secondly, especially with the parking, he was just just go find a spot. No organization at all. So when you went in, there was just cars everywhere, and they would just be parking angled and sideways and all this kind of stuff. And he wasn't managing it properly. is what it was. He just
Right.
wasn't managing. So when I looked at it, I was like, I went through and I was kind of mentally counting, like, how many cars could I actually put here? How many vehicles could I put here? And then we talked about the units, and he was like, I am 100% full. And I was like, okay, well, what is your rent? What is your rent roll? And he's like, I'm making about like $2,000 a month or so. And I was like, if you're 100% full and you're making $2,000, then you're either not charging it, your price is right, or you don't know what you're doing. Then come to find out, he was 100% full, but like nobody was paying. Right. And half of the units, they had been like full for like, 5 or 10 years, and he just never even cleaned them out.
Oh, wow.
So when you talk, like when you're looking for storage facilities and you talk to owners and you are hearing stories like this for me personally is a gold mine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because what you have to do when you do that is you have to buy them. I mean, basically all you have to do is buy it, and then you have to go through the auction process to get it all cleaned out, right? And then clean everything out, and then you have to just organize it and automate it, and then just refill it up so that you can get it to 90% full. And then you can and you get that income coming in, and you have that, but you have that value add as well too. So later you can sell it down the road, or you can, refi out and get a cheaper rate or whatever you need to do.
Did he have financing on it, or was it free and clear?
It was free and clear. Most of the storage facilities like this that you find are all going to be free and clear. And they're all, I mean, most of them are going to be older guys that are just like, working it and just trying to make some money, but just like not really into it anymore. I'm going to say 80% of all of the investors, 80% of all the owners that I talk to are all just like this. It's like, it's not a business, it's a hobby, And so that's how you have to look at it. So essentially he was selling it for $500,000. What I did when I talked to him is I basically said, look, I was like, nobody's going to buy this for $500,000. I'm going to tell you right now. Number one, you don't have any books. You have no books. Or you can't give me anything. There's no bank that's going to loan this money to you because you have no ledger, you have no P&L, you have no balance sheet. So I can't take this business to a bank and be like, hey, loan me. They're gonna laugh at me is what they're gonna do, right? So I'm gonna have to go and find a private lender to fund this. And I can do that. I can find a private lender. But the thing with private lenders is if you went to a bank, you would get like 5%. Right? Maybe 5 to 6%. With the lender, you're going to get like 9 to 10%. Right? So I'm going to have almost double the amount of interest just because I have to borrow that money, and just because you didn't run this property correct. So because of that, I have to offer you this much money. And I offered him $200,000. And he looked at me and he just basically was like, no, I'm not doing $200,000. And I was like, well, this is what it's worth. I'm telling you right now, around this amount of money is what it's worth. So we're going to have to come to an agreement on what we're going to be paying, because I'm going to be around this money. And in the end, he was like, fine, $250,000, which is about really what it should be anyways.
Right.
So we put another contract for $250,000. And which is like 50 cents which is like 45 to 50 cents on the dollar. So I basically got it like half price. And from then, my husband and I just really, honestly, that first year, we were cleaning the facility, we're getting it organized internally, trying to figure out how to manage this thing so that we can manage it from our phone, right? And automate it. And we had to train the tenants, because the tenants, they were just paying cash whenever, and they would just pay whenever. Be like, oh, here's $50, here's $100. I'm paying for the next 5 months. Here's $150 or whatever, something like this. Like, there's no track of whatever it is. So we had to clean all that up, train the tenants. They had to be drafted on the first of the month, every single month. We had to get them to understand they had to park in their own parking space. They couldn't just park wherever. All these, like, create a contract and then put it into the system so that we could just email out the contract and people would electronically sign it. So essentially our business became 100% virtual. And the very first year, we probably met most of the tenants after the first year. We have our sixth one is today. I haven't met a tenant in 2 years.
Nice.
Right? Yeah. So we made it virtual, we automated it, and now that facility is 100% full, and there's a waiting list. So it took us a good 2 years to do that, because we've been investing now for about 3 years. And it took us a good two years to figure that out and to do that. But essentially now, I mean, we were making, and the way that I looked at it is I just wanted to make sure I had enough money to pay the bills. Now with storage facilities, there are no bills, right? That's the best thing about storage facilities, is that you have only the mortgage, taxes, and insurance, right? Unless you have an office, but you don't, and when you first start out, you don't want to get an office and overhead because you have to pay all this stuff. And it's just like, you can't really afford that anyways a lot of the time, unless you go into the bigger ones. But then you're buying a business. Who wants to buy a business? You want to buy an investment, right? So essentially, like, we have taxes, insurance, and mortgage. And then we have our marketing, how we market. And then we also have the software that we use on a monthly basis. And that's it. Those are our bills. So the bills come out roughly to around maybe about $3,000 a month, right? And we're at 100% full, and we're making around $7,000 a month, right? At 100%. So it's like essentially like one facility is making on average $3,000 to $4,000 extra net a month, right? And the best part about it is that we rarely get any calls. And we can handle it all from our phone whenever we want to. Now, once you start getting more and more facilities and you want to have like maybe an office manager, so now we have like an office manager because we have 6. But like on your first one, you don't need to do that because your calls are not going to come in that often. It doesn't take a lot of time. Right. So essentially for me, like as an investor, I'm thinking now, like, how can I schedule my life around making money? Right? So how can I work less, work smarter, but make more money, right? For me personally, storage facilities is one of the best ways to do that, because now I have this couple $1,000s a month of income coming in, and on top of that, I went to go refi this building out, right? I was like, okay, now it's time to refi it out, and like the lender is like telling me that this building, this facility, this storage facility is worth like $650,000. I mean, $650,000 is crazy, right? And I bought it for $250,000, right? So, I mean, and, you know, I would never borrow that much money, you know, because it's just not, because you have to pay all that, you know, but like, essentially I could go and sell this for, I mean, $500,000, like he wanted to, easy. So in a couple of years, I've made $250,000 on an investment that takes maybe 5 hours a month.
There you go.
Yes.
You got to love that stuff. That's what I was going to ask you. Like, oh, so you got a traditional private loan, and you went and got a institutional loan now, basically.
Yeah, so I did. So I had to get a private lender, and I convinced a private lender. And the way that it works for my private lender is that it's a interest only loan. And he goes up to 5 years because he's like, whatever, you know, just as long as he gets that monthly payment and he's happy, that's all that matters for him. And then, so it's a principal only loan, and I can, after 2 years, I can refi out. So the rule for him is like, he wants me to hold on to that facility for at least 2 years, which is okay. And then you just budget that kind of into your, you know, into your numbers. And then you can refi it out over the next couple of years, and then it goes from like 9 or 10% down to like 5 or 6%, because that's what commercial loans are right now. Yeah, so I'll essentially cut that mortgage in half, and then so I'll make that extra money. Plus I'll have that value. Maybe we'll sell it. It's a good one though. I mean, it's a really good one. Yeah.
Now you've been targeting those in your local area there by not doing the conventional things that people are doing. You've been out just driving around looking at ugly properties and then and tracking down recently, correct?
Yeah. So after that first facility, I got the itch. And I was like, man, I need to get more of these. This is awesome. Yeah. So been now investing in storage facilities now for the last 3 years. We bought the first year we bought 1, the second year we bought 1, and then last year we bought 3. And we're definitely gonna buy at least 3 now. And so the way that I do this is, like, I have a realtor that goes online and looks online for all the storage facilities, but I'm gonna say 90% of all those storage facilities are way too high. They're just priced way too high. And so if they can't come down significantly, then we can't buy these, right? Because they have to calculate like realtor fees and commercial commercial buildings, anything commercial is always way more expensive. And it's just like, and attorneys are costing more and all this kind of stuff. And it just doesn't, the numbers most of the time do not work out. So what I started to do was drive for storage facilities. So everybody always talks about driving for dollars, driving for deals, whatever. I drive for storage facilities. That's what I do. So I essentially get in my car and I drive around for several hours. Actually, the first step, what I do is I map it out. So when you go to, for instance, when you go to Google Maps and you type in like storage Jasper, Georgia, right? All of the storage facilities in the Jasper area and the surrounding areas are going to come up, right? So you kind of have an idea of where those are. Now, those are not going to be the ones that you're going to buy, right? Because the ones that you're going to buy are going to be not going to be on the map, because the ones that you're going to buy, somebody that's like 80 years old, that can't even open up a computer and work on the computer. Literally, one of the ones that we have under contract right now, the owner uses Post-it notes to manage his business. Post-it notes, I swear. So, but that is not going to be on Google listings, because if you ever put anything on Google listings before, you know that it's kind of difficult, honestly, to get your business on Google listings. You got to fill all that stuff out, then you got to get a post on, you got to come back and put it all in. It's like this whole big shenanigan thing that you have to do, right? So it's kind of difficult. That's why a lot of businesses are not even on Google listings. So the ones that you want to target are not on Google Maps, all right? But you map everything out so you can kind of get an idea of where everything is, because where there's several that are not on the Google Maps, right? So it gives you an idea. So I was coaching, I'm coaching somebody right now to get into storage facilities, and it's a lady, and she's like, you know, take me around. I want to buy a storage facility. I said, okay, so let's do a half a day of like just driving for storage facilities. So we got into the car, and I was like, you cannot, when you get into a car and you're driving around for deals or storage facilities, you can't be listening to Audible, listening to music. You have to be like focused, alert, looking around, because these are not something that just are going to pop out at you and be like, oh, there's a storage facility. You know, only the big ones ever do that, right? Only Q-Smart and Extra Storage and like all these kind of popping out, right? So the ones that you're going to find, you're driving around. So we're driving around, and like we drive around, we go to the first one, and this is one that she had found on the maps, and obviously it's on the map. So we call it up, and this is exactly how we do this. Okay. We called it up, and just, you know, for practice, and office manager answered. Right now, when an office manager answers, obviously you know that they kind of know what they're doing, right? Because they have somebody that's actually working and doing their job for them instead of them doing the job, right? So that's kind of the first idea, that you know that they know what they're doing, right? And every time that you talk to an office manager, and basically what I say is like, hey, this is Stacy. I'm calling about your storage facility. And they say, oh, okay, yeah, you're interested in a unit? I said, no, I'm interested in your storage facility, as in like, I want to buy your storage facility. Do you think the owner would be interested in selling? Oh, no, they would never want to sell. I know they would never want to sell. Every time I talk to an office manager, they always say, no, I'm never going to want, because they don't want to lose their job.
Right.
No, they would never. I say, okay, well, is it okay if I just send a letter to the owner and discuss, can I have my contact information on it? And if he ever decides to sell, can you give it to him and let him know that I'm always willing to talk to him about buying his facility? Oh yeah, of course you can do that, or whatever. So that's what we do. We create like a master spreadsheet, and then we just keep track of all the different storage facilities that you're in contact with. And then we mail letters on a regular basis to them, just like keep, hey, it's still me, I'm still here, or whatever. We kind of I have my office manager handling that now. And then you keep driving along, right? And so then like, she's like, we're just talking about life and whatever. And I'm like, and all of a sudden out of the corner of my eye, I see it, the gold mine. And I said, look, oh my God, look. And she's like, what? And there was a storage facility behind a commercial building that you could not see, right? And she's like, oh my God, I would have totally never even saw that ever, And I was like, pull in there. I was like, and let's go there. So we drive up and we go behind this commercial building, and there's like this storage facility that's fenced in, and it's got 3 rows of units, which is kind of actually a bigger facility.
Right.
But there's no sign anywhere. There's no sign, no phone number. The best thing about storage facilities too is like when you're driving around, there's a sign with a phone number, right? You don't have to skip trace. You don't have to go out and skip trace. You just call that number because that's the number, right? So there's like no sign, no facility, nothing. So I'm like, this one, I was like, we need to buy this one. So I look at the commercial buildings, and like there's no signs for the commercial buildings as well too. So I pull it up on Landglide. So if everybody here knows Landglide, it's an app that you can use to pull up like public data and stuff. And so it's an awesome app. I love this app. But it's $10 a month, just so anybody knows. But anyway, so I pulled up the public data, I looked it up, and it basically showed like the owner owed the storage facility and the two commercial buildings right in front of it. And the commercial buildings were looking kind of run down. The storage facility was looking kind of run down. And I was like, and it was just like some name, like Thomas John or something like this. I was like, he doesn't even know what he's doing. He puts the property in his own name. Right. So anyway, so I was like, you have to call this person. You have to call them, and you have to talk to them and start building rapport and telling them that you want to buy this facility. Right. So, but when it comes up on Landglide, like the phone number is not there. You have to do some digging. You have to go in. You have to really skip trace. You have to find out who the owner is. You have the address of his mailing address, but you don't have their phone number. So essentially that was her homework. And that just happened this past week. So she's supposed to figure out where the owner is, call them, and put an offer in. And that's really how easy it is. I mean, essentially drive around and really look and pay attention to what you're doing. I guarantee you will find an abandoned facility, because they are out there everywhere. I'm closing on one today, an abandoned facility, right? It's easy to find them.
So with the abandoned facility, you're buying it, and that's the thing. Let's because you talked about prices being different. We were talking about how in Texas everything's way overpriced, or some people have an idea, think what it's worth, and when it comes down to it, with no paperwork, no tracking, it's worth a whole lot less.
Yes.
But there's a big difference in prices that you're seeing. You're closing on one today. How many units for how much again?
It's 76 units. I'm closing at $163,000.
Wow.
$163,000. I looked in Texas because I'm very interested in buying stuff in Texas as well too. So I've been keeping my eye out, and I'm even looking like out in the countries. I'm looking like 2-3 hours outside of Atlanta, and the prices for storage facilities are just ridiculous, right? So I highly recommend to everybody that it's Austin, and I don't know, I didn't look really kind of like in the middle of nowhere, but like in the surrounding areas of Austin, it was just not feasible. And we talked about this, is essentially what's happening is that there are rarely any mom and pop facilities in that area right now, because all those big buildings, because what happened is that Austin's just such a hot market, right? So all these big storage all these big companies just came in and just bought all the mom and pop shops and then built them up, made them all nice and fancy. Now there's too many, right? There's not enough people to fulfill the need of what's happening. And so now a lot of them are selling, but they're selling for the price, either the price that it should be appraised at if it's 100% full, or they're selling at the price of maybe what it's appraised at, but it's just not, you're not going to make money on it. You're just not. So I highly recommend just steering clear of Austin. I watched a webinar the other day. Dallas is a little bit better than Austin, but still Dallas is like kind of in the yellow area. It's not a green. It's more of a yellow. And then maybe look, if you're living in the middle of nowhere, Texas, you may be able to find some mom and pops. And what I'm saying is that out of all of the storage facility market, 15% are like the big box owners. 15% are U-Hauls and extra storage and public storage and all that. And then 85% are all mom and pop shops like me. Like, we're family owned business, right? And everybody can check, just so everybody knows, everybody can check me out. It's Miss Lillian Self Storage. So if y'all say, I don't know, she's lying or whatever, you can go check out Miss Lillian Self Storage. That's all of our facilities. And but all those mom and pop shops are who you want to target and you want to talk to, or just family owned businesses just like me, trying to like run some businesses. And those are the ones you can add value to. Yeah.
Are any of the ones that you've talked to have financing in place that you can maybe take over? Or
that's the one thing that I love about storage facilities. Oh my gosh, these owners, like, I talked to one owner the other day. He's like, I was like, I really want to buy your storage facility. Please sell it to me, please. And I was like, I can pay $250,000 now. I can close next week. I'm ready. He's like, no. If I sell you this facility, I'm not going to take cash for this thing. He's like, I'm not paying no capital gains tax on this thing. He's like, I'm telling you, these facility owners are really smart, actually, And he's like, I'm not paying all that money up front. No. I need to pay that over time. And that's how so many are. So out of the 5 facilities that we have, 2 of them are owner financed. because they just didn't want to pay the capital gains tax. That's it. So they finance, like, I have one that's like 12 years at 6% interest. I only had to put $25,000 down.
Nice.
Can you imagine? That's what I'm saying. I own a store. I was deeded a storage facility for $25,000. And all I have to do is just pay a monthly payment for 12 years. And he's like, you can refi it whenever you want out. But I'm like, why would I do that? It's like 6% interest. It's the same as going to a bank.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like, you're my bank. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of them are like this. So you just have to know how to talk to them, how to offer something. And actually, some of them don't even know how to do that. I'm talking to one right now. I was like, why don't you just owner finance this? You don't have to pay the taxes. That was his issue. A lot of them that's the issue. I don't want to pay that tax. Well, why don't you just owner finance it to me then? I can give you 25 grand right now.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So you do a lot of creative deal structuring within, and then once you get really good at it, then you can start even later down the road. If you want to, you can offer like property management. And so you could be like, yeah, like I can manage it now, because we know how to manage facilities. I'm like, I'll go out and investors come to me and they're like, I want a facility, but I don't have time to manage it. Well, let us manage it. We'll manage it for you. We know what we're doing. That kind of stuff. So there's a lot of really good nuances and stuff that you can do once you get in and really kind of just educate yourself on how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, I think there's so many opportunities out there that people get discouraged without even like really taking action. I mean, like the whole point of getting in their car and driving around, that's the extra 5% that most people aren't doing.
Yes.
That little extra 5% of spending an afternoon driving around with Miss Lillian, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Miss Lillian self-storage. That's my daughter. Everybody doesn't. My daughter's name is Lillian. All of the facilities are named after her, and they're all going to her. That's another thing too. It's like, this is all for her too. When she's 18 years old, now I'm going to be like, surprise. Every time I go to a storage facility, she's like, Mom, I'm bored. I'm like, what? This is your life. This is your wealth here, man. She's like, can I watch Peppa Pig?
So, on the ones that you're taking over, how long on average does it take you to get them back up and running full? Or get them
It's going to take at least 6 months up to a year. Yeah, most of them are going to be at least 6 months up to a year. Like I have one that I'm trying to wholesale right now in Dublin, Georgia, which is like almost completely empty. So that's like you would treat that as like a new construction deal, and that's just like you can hit the ground running on that one. But most of the ones are going to take you a while to get in there, clean out, figure it out. Really try to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah, we've what's funny is we've dealt with the Bank of Georgia before. From Synovus Bank.
Oh, yes.
They have stuff available, especially self-storage. They're interested in keeping the paper on their books if possible and allowing somebody's going to take over an asset, to take the financing from non-performing to carrying the loan to doing performing for you with little down, or even partnering with you in some cases.
This is exactly, I just wholesaled one just like that. They took it over. The owner died. They took it over and they managed it for like several years. They just hired somebody to manage it and they kept it on the books. And then after like, I think 5 years, they were just like, yeah, we're tired of it. We need to get rid of it, kind of a thing. So yes, that does happen quite often. Yes, as well. They'll just manage it, and then later, and then down the road, they'll sell it. They'll sell it. Yeah. So I just wholesaled it. Those are really good to wholesale.
Now, question for you: How small is a complex, or how big are you looking at, or what's the number that you find the spot?
I mean, my sweet spot is anywhere around like maybe $200,000 to $400,000. What can I get? That's my question. Always like $200,000 to $400,000, because those are the ones that don't need office managers. They don't need you don't need an office there, right? Once you're starting to get like, once you're getting 150, 200 units, once you're getting bigger, then you need somebody there to help manage it. And I honestly don't want to pay for that, right? So for me, it's always just like overhead. And then if you can do it virtually, now we have around like maybe after today, we'll have like about 450 doors, right? Something like that. And so now we're like, okay, we need somebody maybe to help us out a little bit, but I mean, really up until that, like we have like a part-time office manager that works like 10 hours a week, and that's it, to help us. And she does like all the auction process stuff. And she does kind of the things that, we don't want to do, that kind of stuff. That's what she does.
Are all your units gated? and it's with
Well,
security.
they're all fenced in. They're all fenced in. So that's one of the things is they're all fenced in, but they don't have like we have the ones that have gates are the ones that are most of the time are like pains in the butts because the gate is always breaking and then you have to go down and fix it and stuff. So the ones that we have three of them that just are fenced in and then we kind of lock it and have a lock on it and then we just change the code every single month on that lock. If you pay, you get the code. And I'm telling you, those work so much better than the ones with the gates. Everybody's like, oh, I need security, I need cameras. We only have one facility that has cameras and a gate. And we have two facilities that have gates. One facility has gate and cameras. And the gate is always breaking. The cameras are always breaking. It's just a pain in the butt. So for me, I don't really even care about stuff like that. You know, I care about like how much money am I going to be making?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, they don't care. The tenants really a lot. I mean, they're still moving in. They don't care. Now, there are some people that are like, oh, I have to have like all the bells and whistles. Well, that's fine, but go find someplace that's $150, $200 a month. That's just not us. We subscribe to those tenants that, you know, can only afford, you know, $50 to $100 a month, essentially is what it is, you know, and there's people out there that are like that, you know.
Right. Are you taking an average or looking at your competition in the area too?
Yes. When you purchase the storage facilities, you've got to go online and you've got to look at your competition and see what they're charging as well too, right? And you just see like random stuff. So you just take the average of that is what you do. So on average, it's going to be around this much money. Yeah.
What are some of the things you're doing to help get the word out, especially taking over facilities that have no branding or vacant? You know, is it just putting up a sign and then starting to market via social media or flyers? What are some of the things that you're doing to drive,
the traffic to get them to tenants and stuff? That's the hardest. Honestly, that's the hardest part of the entire process because you as a business owner have to learn how to market your properties. That's it. So essentially we're learning things like SEO, Facebook ads, like, social media, how to market on social media, how to do Google AdWords and like online PPC and stuff. I mean, essentially that's what you have to do. Right. So, and there's also syndication sites too, where you can pay like, okay, I'll pay this much money per month and go. So, and these syndication sites, what they do is they pay to be at the top of the list. So you don't really do that. They do that for you. So it's kind of like an in-house marketing company and you can do that as well too. And it's not really that expensive, but you have to budget that into, as I said, you have to budget marketing into your budget, your monthly budget, because you have to do that. And you can do things like dollar move-ins and referral programs and all kinds of different things to get them in. But you have to learn how to market. You have to learn how to market.
That's the extra juice right there. Just because you own it doesn't mean they will come.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. It's true. You have to become a marketer. It's just like any business, like even in real estate investing, you have to market in order to get the phone to ring. It's the same thing for the storage industry. You got to market in order to get the phone to ring.
Right. Now, question for you here. We've got listeners that are interested in self-storage and doing stuff. If they wanted to reach out to you to either get trained by you or mentored or learn more about you, what's the best way for them to do that, Stacy?
You can always just, actually I have a website. It's called stacyrossetti.com. stacyrossetti.com. So if you're interested, hopefully in 2020, I definitely want to do some more mentoring and teaching on this. We're trying to really put some programs together right now, but it's just not quite 100% there. It's always like, everything always takes longer than what you want it to take, right? Yeah.
Right.
So stacyrossetti.com is the best way to get a hold of me. And you can also email me. You can email at stacy@stacyrossetti.com. And then, and if you have any questions or anything like that as well too, I'm here. Yeah. I want to help as many people as I can get into this industry because I feel like it's the best kept secret that nobody knows about. So please, if you are interested, contact me and I can help you out.
Now, what day and what times where's the South Atlanta REIA meeting at, also for those that are in the area?
That's the first Wednesday of every month is the main meeting, and you can go to southatlantareia.com and you can see all of our events. And also we have an app, so you can download the app, South Atlanta REIA. So just search South Atlanta REIA, and it's a calendar app. So it's a calendar of events. So you can look and be like, oh, I'm free on Friday. Okay, I can go to this one or whatever. And then you can just register right there on the app. We got lots of events, especially in 2020. It's going nuts. So you got to get involved. Come hang out with us. Yeah.
Exactly. Great stuff as always, Stacy. Thanks so much for being an awesome guest here on the No Closure Show podcast. Once again, everybody, you can reach out to her at stacyrossetti.com. It's Stacy with a Y, STACY, Rossetti, ROSSETTI.com out there for our listeners out there. And once again, guys and gals, if you're looking for self-storage or looking for deals, give her a phone call. Reach out to her. You never know what she's got in her books. She said she's wholesaled a few deals to some investors out there and made a little bit of money doing that, but also made some happy investors on the other side, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to start a podcast next year, so I definitely want you to come and talk on it.
I'd love to be on it.
Yes. I'm working. That's another work in progress. So hopefully I'll start that next year. You can come do it.
We'll be glad to help you out there if you need to get rocking and rolling there. All righty.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. Merry Christmas. Okay.
Same to you. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Go rock it out, and give my best to your husband and your daughter as well. All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You too. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks. All right, guys. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closer Show. As Stacy just shared, there's deals out there. You just got to look for them. Go out and look for the ones that the grass is tall. There's no signage. It looks like it's unkept. You never know what you can negotiate by just going out, knocking on some doors, picking up the phone and making some phone calls. And you never know what you're going to get when you ask. So feel free to ask away, and you might just be surprised at what you get. So go out, take some action, everybody, and we'll see you all at the top. Bye.
Bye.